Hey everybody, I'm Colin Cochran, and this is the weekly workplace win. So today I want to talk about something that I've lived through more times than I care to admit. Those moments when a project is going completely sideways, timelines are being missed, and you're sitting there thinking your career might be over, and that's happened many times for me. Some of those crises were completely out of my control, and some, well, totally my doing. I could have done way more to not put myself in those situations. But here's what I've learned after 30 years in the workplace. High performers, they don't panic less than you do. They've just learned what pressure is actually telling them. And that's what I want to break down for you today. So I want you to imagine this scenario, and I'm betting you've lived this before. If not, you're doing it right now. A project you're working on is going sideways. Communication just got botched. Maybe circumstances you can control are now crashing into your deadline, and you're sitting there feeling incredibly vulnerable. The thoughts start to come fast. This is my fault. I could have done better. I could have prevented this. Everyone's going to know I screwed up, and that spiral, it starts really fast. And before you know it, you're in panic mode and you're doing this terrible storytelling, and it's not the good kind. So here's what most people do in that moment. And look, I've done this too. They panic, they start rushing, they throw solutions at the wall, they go down the path of the first idea that pops in their head because doing something feels a whole lot better than doing nothing. The pressure to act feels enormous, and I get it, I've been there. But that's exactly when most people makes everything worse because you're not actually thinking, you're reacting, and there's a huge difference. So here's what I've noticed watching people who stay calm when everyone else is absolutely losing it. They do something counterintuitive. They pause. Now, I know what you're thinking, Colin. There's no time to pause. Everything's on fire. But here's the thing, high performers actually take the time to acknowledge reality first. They say it out loud. This isn't going as planned. We're in a bit of a crisis. No sugarcoating, no pretending everything's fine when it's not. Then, as this is the key, they assess the situation. What's within their control? What isn't it? What's actually done, and what can we do about it? They approach it with a calm, data-driven, fact-driven mindset, and calmness, it cuts through all the storytelling that starts a spiral. And here's the part that younger workers often miss. They communicate broadly to their team, to their colleagues, to their manager. They're completely open about what's happening, how they're screwing up, and they ask for help. Not in the save me kind of way, but in the here's the situation, I need your help way. But here's what I really want you to understand today. You need to reframe pressure as information, not a threat. When you're in your 20s and 30s, you haven't had enough repetitions yet to recognize the difference. So when something goes wrong, it feels incredibly personal, like you failed. But often, the system, the company, the organization you work with is just giving you feedback about what matters to them. That pressure point, it's actually diagnostic. It's telling you where to focus, where the organization cares most. High performers use this as a tool rather than feeling attacked by it. Look, when you're not used to it, you think it's all personal. You get defensive. But what you need to know and do is like, okay, what's this telling me and how do I move forward? That's how you need to interpret it. Here's something practical you can start doing right now. Build what I call the crisis confidence with small exposures. Don't wait for the big moment. Put yourself in uncomfortable spots on purpose, situations where you don't have all the information. See what happens. Learn to navigate those moments without the stakes being career ending. You don't have to start big. You just need a little bit of exposure. See what the system does. See what the feedback the company provides. Then adjust from there. You'll learn, oh, you know what? I actually think I can think strategically. I don't need to go into panic mode every time I get this kind of information. That is really high value, and that's what will set you apart. Here's another thing a high performer does well. They separate their identity from the output. When something doesn't work out, they think, this is just didn't work. Instead of I failed, I did this wrong. Now I know that might sound a little cold, but it's about depersonalizing the setback. There were other parts, other factors, maybe even if it was all you, but then you need to think about it as the work and not your work. Because when you tie your entire identity to one project, one outcome, one moment, that's when the pressure becomes unbearable, right? And so here's another thing. Here's what I've learned from high performers. They practice something called worst case scenario thinking, not a dramatic doomsday kind of way, and a doomsday kind of way, but concrete. What's actually the worst thing that could actually happen here? And here's what I've found almost always: it's not career ending, by the way. Maybe it's disappointment. Maybe you have to have an uncomfortable conversation. Maybe you have to work late for a week to recover. But when you understand what the worst case is and it's not vague dread, it becomes way more manageable. High performers learn to think through that worst case, and often they've got plans in their back of their heads for what they do if it actually does happen. The last thing I want to share with you: in pressure moments, high performers have a few trusted people that they can call when things go sideways, not to complain or bitch, but to do a reality check. It could be a mentor, it could be a coach, a friend, a colleague, a supervisor, even someone who can help you reframe what they see and see the situation differently. What am I missing here? By the way, that's one of my favorite questions because it invites the other person to provide their view of what might be going on that you're not fully catching. And look, I know in the moment when you're feeling vulnerable, you probably feel the least willing to admit you need help. You're thinking, I got this. I'm so silly for missing that. But having that person to talk to, even if it's just 10 minutes to walk through it, can completely change your perspective. So here's what I want you to do this week. I want you to think about a project or a situation making you anxious. Write down the worst case scenario, the actual concrete, not the vague fear, the real outcome if everything goes wrong. Then write down what you'd do if that happened. Keep it somewhere where you can reference it, because I promise you, when you make it concrete, it actually becomes less scary. Look, I've screwed up more times than I can count. Projects that went sideways, crises that I caused, moments where I panicked and make everything worse. But every single one taught me something. And what I've learned is this: high performers don't avoid pressure. They've just learned how to move through it. They've learned that pressure isn't personal, it's information. And once you understand that, everything changes. So if you're in your 20s and 30s and you're navigating one of those moments right now where you think you've blown it, you can't see your way forward, I want you to know you're not alone. I've been there, and you can get through this just like so many others have too. If you want more on this, check out this week's Weekly Workplace Win newsletter. It goes deeper into all of this. It's available on Substack. And if you found this helpful, subscribe to the Weekly Workplace Win at weeklyworkplacewin.card.co. I'm Colin Cochran. Be well, be good, take care. So look, I've screwed up more times than I can count. Projects that went sideways, crises that I caused, moments where I panicked and made everything worse. But every single one of those taught me something. And what I've learned is this: high performers don't avoid pressure, they've just learned how to move through it. They've learned that pressure isn't personal, it's actually information. And once you understand that, everything can change for you. So if you're in your 20s and 30s and you're navigating one of those moments right now where you think you've blown it and you can't see your way forward, I want you to know you're not alone. I've been there. Others have been as well. You can get through this. If you want to know more on this, check out this week's Weekly Workplace Win newsletter. It goes deeper on all of this. It's free for 2 weeks on Substack. And if you found this helpful, subscribe right here on YouTube as well. I'm Colin Cochran. Be well, be good, take care.